right, I think we have some attendees still joining, but I think we will just wait for one more minute and begin the day 3, which is the grand finale. All right, so I think let's begin. Uh, Today is the day 3 of our 3-day live event series. So uh, if you are attending this for the first time, I think let me just introduce you that we were running this Becoming a Data Hero in 3 days, where we covered strategy implementations. And today is more of a training session where we will go dig deeper into the different things and how things are executed at a ground level. Day 1, we covered Rise to the Challenge. So there were guests from Tatvik, our global CEO, Rubir. Trust Bank, we had Nitin Bhargava, the Chief Data and Analytics Officer. And we had Kenny from Google Teams, who is the Technology Manager for APAC region. So we completed day 1 with our strategies. Day 2, where we discussed more about implementations and process challenges solutions with Nitin from Trust Bank. And today is the day 3, which is the grand finale, where we will be going to a certain use case like recommendation engine, where we will showcase you that how you yourself can also generate recommendations or use data at your for your clients or for your brands, wherever you find data. How to get the best out of this data is something you will learn today. A little bit about me. So I will be hosting your today's session. I am the head of MarTech and analytics at Tatvik, and I lead particularly the operations across the APAC region. And I like to train people over, like I train 1,000+ professionals on Google technologies, and Tatvik gives me this opportunity to lead the MarTech school initiatives, where we come together, we bring more people and train different professionals across APAC region on data and analytics. So very happy to lead this particular session. A quick recap. So what our guests had covered earlier in the day 1 was majorly on the DGscape. So the day 1 went on starting with digital landscape, understanding the landscape of Google Analytics or overall analytics, third-party cookies, how users and behavior is changing. And as a result, how the analytics is being hampered and is being also changed accordingly. The new tools are coming up, which are privacy-centric tools. Then we went into the brand hurdles, where Nitin explained what are the different challenges when you work on the brand side. How do you select a particular tool? What kind of access management or compliance issues you will face? Measurement related prioritizations and unified identities. What certain challenges Nitin discussed with us. Then Kenny went on to explain the era of modeling, where he mentioned that we are moving from broadcast era to precision era to predictive era, where with the invent of AI and a lot of regulatory restrictions, technology restrictions, a lot of our conversions, we will need to depend on the predictive era. So predictions are the future. He also mentioned about the Google's privacy-centric measurement technology. So this is something that Google has taken a right step at a right moment to create the best-in-class technology that suits your industry challenges. We went on to discuss the brand level use cases, which Nitin covered on the analytics, which Trust Bank primarily uses. And overall, we also went on to understand from Rupir and Kenny about the future and how digital maturity model still applies in today's world. And three different stages of connect, innovate, and experiment still remains true in today's difficult world, even for every brand across the different industries. Day two, we had a very rich discussion on different digital maturity stages with Nitin Bhargava. Nitin covered how a brand grows from a baby to a cyclist, become a toddler, and then goes to, passes out from college, gets married, and then becomes a full family. And at every stage, we also discussed that the different tools and maturity of using those tools will improve. So cycle was one example that as you become a family, you will have better tools, but at the same time comes more responsibilities with you. Different stages we discussed were nascent, emerging, then a company goes into the connected and multi-moment stages. So each stage was discussed with a very detailed example on measurement process, funnel analytics, retargeting ads, and recommendation engine. So this has been our really great journey across the last 2 weeks, last 2 days of this series. Today, I think we will go a little bit more into a use case which is very closer to our heart. And what's joined today, we all use, OTT players like Prime Video or Netflix, and we deal with recommendations every day. So recommendations are sort of our part of life, even if sometimes we really don't understand. But a lot of our decisions, even when choosing a movie on Netflix, we really pay attention to whether I will like it or not. So those scores have been driving great products, and it has a potential to also drive a lot of value for your brands. According to one study, 80% customers are more likely to purchase a product or service from a brand that provides more of a personalized experiences, right? So rather than throwing every product or every notification and just boring the customer, if you could find out more about the customer and just go really targeted, right? That would generate more business impact for you or your customers too. Amazing stats from Barline's research, which says 30%, 31% of e-commerce revenues comes from the product recommendations. And this is a great opportunity. Even if you are not an e-commerce player, you could look at recommendations within your product. If you are sending push notifications, sending emails, it all applies to product recommendations or customer recommendations, where you find out the right set of personalized content for a customer and then send across the messages. So with recommendation engine, let me quickly explain that what different brands tries to achieve. And recommendation engines are more of a highly personalized product recommendations. And a lot of brands in the region I've seen, they deploy this because it is, if they have 100,000 millions of customers like Shopee, Lazada, Flipkart, Amazon, They don't have a way to reach out to single individual customers in a way, right? And give them a personalized recommendations. So that is where they build the recommendation engine. And what it does is very simply, it uses the machine learning technology to intelligently personalize your experience. So every customer that comes to your website, they have their own version of website. Every customer who receives the push notification, they have their own version of push notification. No two experiences are ever similar. So that's really an amazing thing to achieve. Uh, it results into dramatic improvements in meaningful metrics. Like if you are showcasing certain products, it improves your click-through rates, conversion rates, and revenues for sure. Again, it's a global scale service, so you can deploy across many countries, deploy across many product lines. You just need to have one particular model built, and you can deploy it across the geographies, across the product lines, across the businesses. And again, the data integration is made easy and is better understood. When you develop recommendations, there are four things that actually happen. Very simply, without recommendations and even building recommendations, you seem to be at a stage where you really feel that I don't really know my customer, right? A customer came to my website, he went on to do certain journey and has dropped off. He never came back to me. So understanding your customer behavior will also start when you start to truly personalize, and you will also be able to connect multiple data sets to understand the customer's behavior. The second thing that happens is your data might be across multiple platforms, like a website or a desktop or a mobile website, could be a mobile app. Customers might be using some of these, all of these, or their journey might not be very linear. It can be a very non-linear journey where he starts on a desktop and goes to a mobile app and purchases your product. So in this case, a normal analytics tool will just show you that the customer has dropped off from your desktop version of the website. But when you combine your data across your website and mobile app, you are able to see that this customer has actually purchased the product. And then based on this product, you can also suggest certain recommendations. So multi-channel context is very, very important. What happens for the customer is customer gets to see a lot of recommendations, recommended products, and starts perceiving your brand as an intelligent brand who really not only throws things to you, but also tries to be more intelligent and tries to connect lesser, but in a more meaningful way. So this is what we have also heard from Kenny, Nitin in our past webinars, that connect with customers in a meaningful way. And lastly, I think for brands who have a regional presence, global presence, it's very important for them to go localized. So they can add a layer of localization. They can go to individual user with their localized experience. So global availability is really great to have with recommendations. We can forward you this case study after the webinar, which has more details. But one of our client, Quicker, which is a marketplace where customers come to sell things, and there are also customers who come to buy. So it's more like a marketplace where buyer and sellers meet. Their challenge was to increase the user engagement. So what we did was we implemented the machine learning algorithms, created right recommendations, which resulted into all these super metrics where they have seen 30% higher CTRs and 10% more revenues per 1,000 sessions. So 10% is a huge increment, and that is a testament to this concept that recommendations should be implemented for the brands. If there are customers who are confused, and you have many products or many content to recommend to customer, then definitely recommendations will come into the picture. Going back into a little bit on the recommendations, last time we covered recommendation engine and the types, but let me just refresh your memories. So overall, we discussed about there are three types of recommendations. Actually, there are just two: content-based filtering and collaborative-based filtering. These are the two major types, and the last type is more of a hybrid recommendation system where you include both of these filtering mechanisms into one. So a little bit more about the content base, where a user reads a particular book on, let's say, Kindle or on your website. He watches a video, and very similarly, you predict that what could be the next move or a similar item that the customer would be interested. So if a customer has visited a product page, probably you can share maybe a PDF of that product or comparison of this product versus your competitors uh, to the same customer. So it's just one customer, and could be multiple product line items which can be then recommended to the same customer. You collect the data about product, you collect the data about customer profile, and then both of these are linked using technology, which is more like an ML technology. And similarly, collaborative filtering considers context about multiple users in the single recommendation model. So how does it work is it tries to compare different attributes of different users, and depending on variables that you consider, the data points you consider, they will try to find out the similar users from the data. So in this example, you can see a customer has bought book 1 and book 2. Similar customer has also purchased same books in his portfolio. That is where these customers are identified as similar customers. Now, this is one example where based on the transaction category, you are considering users as similar. You can have more variables like age, gender, or it could be many signals that you could consider. Uh, Depending on the difference between the two users, like the third, this user has purchased an additional book. It's a very strong indicator that this person, the boy in this case, might also like this particular book, The Time Machine. So you start recommending this book and see whether he's triggered by this particular recommendation and be able to open to purchase it. So again, I think you can use clustering group of profiles is a primary concept here. Similar preferences, search histories, and buying habits can be utilized. And the last system, which is the hybrid recommendation system, it is where the content-based filtering and collaborative filtering, both systems come together to build a hybrid recommendation system. So in one particular row, probably you also have a content-based recommendation, you also have a collaborative based recommendations, and together it forms your recommendation pile that you want to go to your customer with. So these were the simple types. It's not very hard concept to understand. But yeah, if you have questions, please put it on the chat group and we will be able to take it up at the end of the webinar. Let me go a little bit into the architecture and how the architecture is generally set up when you prepare recommendations, and whether it would also help you to evaluate whether you have the right stack, whether you have the right tools to generate recommendations and also to reach out to your customers. So if you see, the journey for any data related activation use case will be very simple. You collect certain data points, start analyzing certain data points, whether and you also validate whether data is clean enough to generate the right recommendations, visualize as much as possible, and then activate those data with your customers and close loop. So again, deploying recommendations is not the only thing. You will also at the end of the day measure the output or percentage click-through rate on your recommended product recommendations. So overall, yeah, it consists of your analytics tool, Google Analytics 4, Google Analytics 360, or it could be, it can also include your CRM data, which might lie on Salesforce, or it could be as simple as MySQL database, which is where your first-party data might lie. So you will ultimately end up loading all this data into Google Cloud Platform, which is where we will see how Google Cloud Platform is able to process different data sets. And I will also showcase you certain BigQuery UI, and we'll also share it after the webinar with you, which is where you use Google Cloud ML technologies to build your personalized recommendations. Another, I think, architecture in the process for recommendation engine is more towards once the data is into the BigQuery, there are two different stages which you understand is model training and recommendations API. So model training is all about preparing, cleaning your data, then preparing your models, and then testing the same model on that data set. Once the model is ready, you will see what is the best model that you can deploy, and then ultimately prepare recommendations for the customer. And finally, once you have the recommendations, you will be able to expose it as an API. So you could use Google Cloud Functions, which can create an API for you. So you can use it across email, SMS, maybe notifications, or it could be also used within your product to showcase the recommendations. Or it could be as simple as a dashboard to understand a customer behavior and what would a customer really like. So going into the implementation, I think a lot of times what a real machine learning use case ends up is what is showcased here, where a boss asks you that this is your machine learning system, and the employee responds that yes, you need to pour in data into this big pile of linear algebra, and then collect answers on the other side. And what we also seen is that on the receiving side, a lot of times what you see is wrong recommendations, and the answers are wrong. So what at the end of the day we also hear is you just steer the pile until they start looking right. So it highlights that machine learning systems take time to adjust and improve the quality of recommendations, but we will see exactly why. So let me walk you through a little bit of implementation process where how can you yourself build recommendation systems, right? So we will go very step by step. I think we are at implementation. We will go through the model preparations, and I will showcase certain results. And if you are interested in this, if you are interested in any of this material, please feel free to reach out. We will be sharing it after the webinar. So overall, you start with identifying your different data sources, right? So at a for a use case which is a multi-moment use case, a lot of data sources will come into the picture. So for example, it could be as simple as app behavior from your Google Analytics 4 data, which is how many coupons a customer is viewing, how many products are being purchased, or how many events are happening for a particular product, how many times customers goes through a product page, what time they spend on a product page. All that can come here. Device related data can come here, whether customer uses Android, iOS, what is the make, model, operating system, what internet speed the customer is using. So everything about your device can also be used to build your models. Session details like how many screens the customer is visiting, what is the intent of this customer, and time spent, bounce rate for a particular customer can be also part of your model inputs. Again, I think CRM being one of the very important data source, number of transactions, customer transaction category, or coupon usage history, right? So all these are very important signals that you would like to feed into your models, and the lesser you feed into, uh, the lesser your recommendation accuracy will be. So we will see how the accuracy is decided in the next phases of the model preparation. A source can be also added up, like whether an organic person has a higher tendency to convert, Apple search, Google ads, and then ultimately the user profile, right? So if you are capturing very important information about age, gender, location, city, region, or even pin codes, language, that would be really important information. All your first party data, including the location, will be something that you would like to feed into your models. The second step will be to capture these details. Like once you have decided that you want to capture certain data points, all your data points will need to flow to ultimately the Google BigQuery. So if you are using Google Cloud as your recommendation engine, you will need all your data into Google BigQuery. So as soon as a customer visits, let's say a GA4 code will fire based on the cookies, they will send data to Google Analytics servers, and these Google Analytics 4 servers will ultimately send a raw hit level data to Google Cloud, and that's how the data will populate into Google BigQuery. Now, if you have different tools, most tools are able to connect with Google BigQuery. So be AppsFlyer, be it MoEngage, or be it any CDP or analytics tool like uh, yeah, it could be any mobile measurement platform, but all of them will be able to connect to Google BigQuery, because BigQuery has rich set of connections. Even if there are no connections, you can build your own custom connections or just load the data into Google Cloud Storage and then create tables from Google Cloud Storage. So once you have set up your tracking, ultimately these are all the steps, like uh, to capture the data from a website, you will need to prepare your event plan. What kind of events do you want to capture? You want to capture customer opening a product page, customer going to scrolling down the page, maybe customer adding the product to cart, which is another important signal, or customer opening another separate detail page about a product where maybe you have added certain content about the product. So all these events needs to be planned out. Once you have the events, you will also deploy a code snippets on your website, or it could be a mobile app, and then start receiving those events in GA4. So very simple steps. GA4 documentation helps you, and if you have any doubts, you can also reach out to us. But very simple stages. You add the code, start tracking the events, and events start populating into GA4. Once you have the events into GA4, right, assuming that all data has been captured into your Google Analytics 4, or ultimately the data has reached Google BigQuery, one of the important concept for you to understand is the rating table. So what is rating table? The rating table tries to build a relationship, a unique relationship of every user. So if you see what I'm showcasing here, the row 1 has a unique customer pseudo ID. And with this particular ID, there is one coupon title which is attached. Like this customer has a 0.5 rating for a particular coupon. So depending on whatever signals we discuss here, whatever events you are capturing, could be add to cart, or it could be checkout begin, or it could be payment stages or purchase. You can decide your own rating logic to just prepare a table that every user will be rated against every other coupon title, and you will have a rating for this unique combination. So let me quickly showcase you. I have it open here. So I hope you can, yeah, I will quickly showcase you. So what you need to do is you need to go to a Google BigQuery interface, start querying the data which you need, right? So ultimately it is very simple. You just need a date, you need a pseudo ID of the customer and coupon title of the customer, and ultimately your the signals that you would like to consider. So let me showcase you how you will do this. Uh, so ultimately, when you go to a big query, this is the query. We will be able to provide you the query later on. But yeah, what you do is very simply create a user pseudo ID and coupon title link, and this is your particular formula. So in this case, we have used time on page as an indicator. So if you spend more time on a particular coupon, we will just identify you that you are more interested into this coupon, and it can be different formula for you. If you have a different variables, you would like to, for example, add more signals like add to cart or redeem. You can create your own formula and come up with a rating. So rating will generally remain within 0 to 1. So you have to ultimately normalize how many parameters you use. There is no limit, but ultimately just remember to normalize and keep it between 0 to 1. Once you run this type of query, what you will be able to see is, let's say, let me just run here. And anyway, it's a demo. So what you will see is, particularly when you do these steps, you will be able to see a user ID, which is a pseudo user ID, and a coupon title, which is recommended, which is the coupons available for you, and the rating for this particular coupon. So just go to save results, save it as a BigQuery table, and ultimately prepare a new data set. Let's say in this case, coupon recommendations. So, and the table name is, this is more of a rating table. So we are saving it as a coupon rating data. And just export. When you export, and you can go to the table. So this table is recently created. All your data that you had prepared using this rating logic is now stored here. So now we have all the user IDs. With all these user IDs, we have coupons, and with all the coupons, we also have the ratings. So once you have all these details, you can actually go into the model preparation stage. Model preparation is a little bit more technical. So I have simple screenshots with me. I will be able to showcase you, and we'll also forward this later on. During the implementation phase, we created a rating table. So once you have the rating table, what you need to do is download a Jupyter notebook. It could be installed on your local machine, or it could be also installed on your virtual machine on Google Cloud. Once you have that, what you will do is you will simply query your rating table. So that is what is we are very much interested into at this moment to build our recommendations. So right now we still don't have recommendations. What we only have is the rating data. So this is the way you can implement Jupyter Notebook and bring your data from Google BigQuery to Jupyter Notebook, where you can see every user pseudo ID. Same user has a similar or different score on different coupons. For example, row number 1 has 0.44, while row number 3 has 0.09. That simply means customer has done more activity related to coupon 1 compared to coupon number 3. So higher the score is better, the rating, better the inclination of the user. Once you have the data in Jupyter Notebook, right? The next steps are you need to prepare a COO matrix. So this metric is called coordinate matrix, and it's very easy to understand. Coordinate matrix has two different things. On the row part, if you see, the rows are user variable, right? So every user has a unique row here. So if you are looking at this screenshot, we have 6 users of data. And on the column side, it is generally an item variable. Item variable can be contents that you might want to recommend. Item variable can be products you might want to recommend, or it can be coupons you might want to also recommend. And What it does is it tries to uh, put together all your rating table that you had prepared earlier into a COO matrix where inclination of the same user to multiple coupons can be seen. So now it is just a transformation from one file, one rating table has been now transformed into a coordinate matrix. Once you have the coordinate matrix, what you need to simply do is write this code, which is more of a training your model. So model training is not as difficult as what we all think. Definitely, it requires certain data analytics and data science knowledge to write all this code. But yeah, I think if you have the right learning attitude, definitely you can learn all this. And the training starts with certain functions here. So you will write the training function and then a testing function as well. As a concept, as an idea, what happens is the data set, let's say if you have 100 customers, those 100 customers are split into 80 and 20. So for 80 customers of data points will be utilized from your earlier COO metrics to prepare your model, right? So 80 customers data we will use, we will prepare our model, and then again, we will need to test this model, right? So on the rest of the 20% of the data, whether our hypothesis or whether our model that we have built is working and has a right set of accuracy in recommending the products or recommending notifications, could be recommending content. So training and test split, once you do the split, ultimately you end up uh, doing the model evaluation. So model evaluation is very important step because this is where you will come to know that how accurate your recommendations are going to be, whether customers will give you a thumbs up or they will give you a thumbs down. So that's what will be decided from the ROC curve. The ROC curve simply uh, will be like this. If you see the screen, the orange curve is the ROC curve, and whatever you see, uh, the slanted blue line is the randomized recommendation. So if your ROC curve is less than this particular blue line, that definitely means your recommendations are going to be not really great. You need to work on your model, clean your data, or improve your model accuracy by tweaking certain parameters and including more data set. If your recommendations are up to like, let's say, perfect, right? A customer will always like your recommendations. You will ultimately end up into a perfect classifier. So if you see the left topmost thing here is a perfect classifier, which is a best recommended uh, content or best recommended coupon will be always found here. So as you build your model, as you train your model, your ROC curve will slightly bend towards 1 here. So the true positive rate will improve as you continuously train your models. So in this case, like the example which we tried, we just use one variable, time on site or time on coupon page, which gave us 63% of accurate model, right? 63% is not really bad. It is really good. Ultimately, throwing wrong recommendations or just randomly throwing stuff, uh, it is still better than all those things. But the moment you add more data or start training the model, you will be able to see a better ROC curve here, and your recommendations will be more accurate. So I have a demo, I think a very small demo where this is the Jupyter notebook. This is how it will look like. So you will end up writing your input and overall as you go. And whenever you run your Jupyter notebook, you will be able to see the different parts of the training and testing your model and overall. 80%, 20%, what we divided, you are able to see all the ROC curve plotting functions. And finally, you end up with ROC curve. And ultimately, once you have the ROC curve, this is the end outcome that we are looking at. So user pseudo ID, against every user, you will have your own recommendation, right? So recommendation 1, 2, 3, 4, that based on the customer's time on site, these are the recommendations that you have generated from a particular data set. So very easy, but at the same time very tricky, because you have to do a lot of back and forth when it comes to the accuracy of the model. Uh, your ROC curve is a best measure, and you need to try out different models. Sometimes you try out different functions at the beginning, and it's probably a week-long process where you optimize your models for the best possible ROC curve. The results that you will get ultimately are recommendations generated. So from your Jupyter notebook, you will be able to generate a lot of recommendations here. And same thing if you are already doing it on Google Cloud platform. You can also run a Python workload on Google Cloud, and you will be able to seamlessly connect it with any API source. The next steps, what we generally see is more of an output dashboard, right? So let me quickly showcase you how an output dashboard looks like. So once the recommendations are prepared, what we do is very simple dashboard is prepared for let's say a customer or a brand who has embarked on a recommendation initiative. For every user that is included, you can the brand teams like marketing teams or product teams can actually verify. They can see the customer journeys, that 31 sessions have been done. This customer has seen 94. 94 was the average session duration, and he has seen 20 coupons, and 2 coupons have been redeemed. So he is an existing user of your coupons. And you can also see the recommended coupons, right? So everything that we generated here can be also connected later on to the dashboard to quickly verify that what are the recommended coupons. Similarly, you can find out trending coupons by just changing your logic, and your recommendations can be also combined with expiring coupons. So if there are coupons expiring and you find that certain coupons are recommended for the user, you really want to go to that user and say, hey, this coupon is expiring. We thought it would be really interesting for you. So dashboard is a great way to understand which geography wise, which device wise the data has been collected, and then you can slice and dice your recommendations, and not only validate your recommendation accuracy from just the ROC curve, but also from a real user point of view, right? So just try to maybe if you are working for a company, just try to validate this internally, whether recommendations would be appropriate or not. Cool. So this is the overall process. So today, a bit of a reflection that we started with recommendation types. We went into the architecture. We went into the implementation nitty-gritties and how to prepare a model, and then how to visualize your results for the ultimate client, or it could be a brand. And then, yeah, we are now at a stage where we have a free giveaway. So we have a really good gift for all of you, or whoever has registered for this full webinar series. If you want to take your theories to action, we are offering $4,000 worth of Tatvik managed Google Cloud services, totally on us, where you start as a Google Cloud customer. And please reach out if you would like to bring your theories or bring your dreams to action. This is my email address, and we would be able to take that engagement forward. And then our regular, I think, free giveaway, which is the free books that we distribute at the end of this webinar series. So just stay till the end of the webinar, complete a 5-question survey, and we will reach out to 10 selected winners for the preferred book and the reading mode. So we are distributing blue ocean strategy, psychology, influence of persuasion, CMO to CRO, and leaders eat last, and lean analytics. All of these are one of my some of my favorite books. So if you are interested to read one of these books, please complete a survey. Cool. So with this, I think we will go into the questions. And if you have any questions for me, for even for the previous webinars, please feel free to put them across in the chat group. We generally face certain questions from when we go to the client. Generally, clients also ask that how can businesses measure the effectiveness of their recommendation engine? Like what kind of key metrics do you track when you run a recommendation engine? So uh, generally we track click-through rates, conversion rates, user engagement, user satisfaction rates, and all of these are combined with A/B testing and user feedback, which is pretty much very essential for a continuous improvement. Yeah, and another question, I think what we generally face is primary challenges that whenever you design recommendation engine, what are your challenges that you see? So yeah, I think overall uh, a cold start is a problem. So as we discussed today, uh, what we saw is the ROC curve takes its own time to improve for new users and new items. So as soon as you add more new customers, it takes a little bit of time for your new customers to adjust and the model to adjust to the new users' journeys and items which are introduced. Data quality issues, again, very important. If you are building a recommendation model, your data is not accurate, I would recommend don't start on that journey, because ultimately garbage in is garbage out. And sometimes what we also see is uh, recommendations are prepared, but they are not acted upon, right? So handling the real-time recommendation, a lot of customers just end up having recommendations in the Excel sheets, but they never reach the customer. So they don't know what was the importance of these recommendations, and it is of very essential that you handle the real-time recommendations. And ultimately, the challenge with all the AI and ML systems is going to be fairness and transparency in recommendations. Sometimes, for example, if a vegetarian customer is recommended a non-vegetarian product, there's a very fair chance customer will also not really like it. So be careful when working with recommendations. You need to ensure that your recommendations have certain transparency, fairness, and more importantly, customers should be able to also contribute back that, hey, this recommendation is not for me or not related to me. So that's how generally the recommendations challenges look like. We have a question from Niranjan Nilekani, that how did you use clustering using GA4 data? I mean, let me know use case on clustering using the GA data. Right. So I think GA data can be utilized for clustering. A clustering, if you are looking at building audience segmentation, this is where I would recommend clustering techniques like k-means can be really, really useful. But if you only use Google Analytics for data, what we have seen is your clusters will not be something that your business teams will be able to relate with, right? So you will ultimately end up using like statistical models, which do not make a real sense in the real world. So what our recommendation is in such cases is try to combine more than one data set. As soon as you have more data sets, your clustering, even if you are using k-means as a technique, you will be able to find the right customer segment with right age group, with right language, with right, even date of birth, and all that really matters in identifying your right clustering segments. Now, If you are looking at a use case, certain use case on the clustering can be really important to understand where what is your current business strategy, right? What your current audience that you are able to attract and sell your products to. And ultimately, it will also give you an idea on the other half that what kind of customers you are not attracting. And once you have your audience segments, you really know what kind of content works for them. You can personalize content for clusters. You can build recommendations for a particular audience segment and engage them more. And it could be even more on the ad targeting part. That if you have a certain audience group which you understand is contributing more towards your business, maybe it makes more sense to either go after that segment if the segment is bigger. If the segment has a maturity level, probably you will try to find out other growing or trending audience segments from the clusters that you have created. So these are all the different techniques you can use. And yes, I think we have some more questions which are like explaining the rating function in the recommendation code. So primarily a rating function can be created based on the data points that you are capturing. So generally a rating is created with centering and scaling by median session duration. So once you have all the data points captured, you will be able to work on a rating function, and it's pretty much true that a rating function needs to be uh, created customly for your particular use cases. Yeah, there are some more questions like is it that you are converting the data into real rating metrics? Yes, we are using rating to generate user item as one metric so that we can identify which user likelihood towards products or coupons. And using that, we particularly train our model. One more question is, when do you use A/B testing in recommendation used cases? So generally, we use recommendation A/B testing pretty frequently because this gives you more confidence that when you A/B test, you are able to clearly see that a normal message that you have recommended, rule-based message, for example, did not really work well compared to a recommended message. So definitely do the A/B testing. Do not. I would recommend don't go live without any A/B testing in place for recommendation use cases. Yeah, we have one more question, which is from Kapil. Is there any support for GA4 free version? We are encountering numerous bugs and issues in it, such as no referral data and UTM tracking problems. Answer, I think yes. To answer this, I think the premium version definitely have support. Free version do not have a proper support from Google Teams, but then Google has partners like Tatvik. In this case, our company has 150 plus Google Analytics professionals who work on the product and can also raise queries to Google support. If it is really a product bug or a product issue, we can reach out to Google Teams. Generally, Google has a way of working with all these partners who can raise queries and work directly with Google product teams. So you can connect to us separately. You can email me if you have any issues with the Google Analytics for as a product. I would be very happy to get the right person involved and help you fix it. One more question we have is that at what stage of a company does a recommendation service or Tatvik services start to come into the play? Just trying to understand from the point of view of startups in the early stage. So Yeah, I think depends on your use cases and your stages. So if you are at a very nascent stages, what we would generally recommend is uh, you keep your you only hire analytics professionals like Tatvik for your particular analytics setup and reporting, which is generally very useful. As your brand scales, you can look at different use cases like last time what we discussed about funnel creation or retargeting ads, where you slowly and gradually start using your data in a better, meaningful way. Then once you are like a conglomerate or you are an enterprise brand, then definitely yes, you can build certain things like recommendation engine or any advanced data level use cases can be also utilized at this particular stage. Yep. I think that should be all the questions. If we have more questions, please feel free to drop them. We will be able to come back to you on those questions. And for the questions where we could not go into more details, please feel free to reach out. This is my email address, jyot.patel@tatvik.com. And see you in our next webinar series, which will be coming soon. So we will be reaching out to you on your email. Thank you all for joining us for today's session.